Hello, welcome to September 13th. Is it the 13th? I think so. 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation. I make this video every morning to describe and think about my life objectives and principles, and to plan for the coming day. I also think about how I did applying these to the last 24 hours. Let's start. First, last night. A pretty good night's sleep. I did kind of wake up a little bit, kind of in a, not fully awake. Well, kind of a, twilight wakefulness through the night. But I did wake up with the alarm. I think that's my mark of success, so to speak, is that the alarm wakes me up rather than laying there, eyes open, and then suddenly the alarm goes off. It's like, here you go, bomb, 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 there you go. So that's not fun. So that's good. It was a hell of a day yesterday. My daughter's car had broken down the night before. Yesterday was a Friday. It was my Friday on. I get every other Friday off from work. Yesterday was an on Friday. I had a lot to do. I needed status reports to do and stuff. I wound up not doing any of that because I took the day off to go help my daughter, Emily, right up there, get her car was busted. Well, but wasn't busted. It wouldn't start. So she lives about an hour away at the dormitories at Cal State Fullerton. So I took the day off, got permission from my boss, and hopped in my wife's car and went down there and took care of it. It was a 3-ring circus. I got there. I had watched YouTube videos the night before because just simply she would engage the key and nothing would happen. No power to anything, which is a good sign. It means it's possibly just a 12-volt battery. So I did that. And I went down and watched some YouTube videos. I was able to find where the battery is. It's not in the usual place of a car under the hood. It's actually hidden behind the seats, under the back seats. I went down and did my little diagnostic test. I had to, now it's tricky parking there, so I parked my wife's car in the 15-minute spot with the flashers going, keeping an eye on it while I traipsed over and worked on my daughter's car. Once I figured out that her car wasn't going to start, that I couldn't get it started, I then called AAA for a battery check. And then I was keeping an eye on the car. And that took like 2 hours because they sent a dispatch out. I could see him on the map arriving, and he got close and just turned around and left. He didn't even call me. So he closed the ticket. That's the first time that's ever happened on AAA. Then so I called again, and I had the second one come. That guy came, checked the battery was dead. Then he jumped me, and I had 2 bars on the gas. And I've got a running car, my daughter's car. Now here's my situation. It's about 11:15 a.m. I've got a car that's only got a little bit of gas in it, my daughter's car, running, and I can't stop it. And then over there is my wife's car parked in the 15-minute parking space with, the security guy. Now I went over and I saw when the security guy, the parking patrol guy came by, I went over and I talked to him and I said, explained the situation. He was totally cool. He said, no problem, just leave your car there and take care of it. But I knew I couldn't leave the car there for the whole afternoon, right? So in the 15-minute spot with the lights flashing. So I was like, oh, now what am I going to do? So I went and explored around the campus, running around. No, actually not running around. I did run around later. Got in my wife's car, leaving Emily's car, running with the engine on. And I was afraid that if the door locked, the key would be locked inside. So I left one of the windows cracked down. And I thought, I hope nobody steals it. Just left it in the parking lot there, running. And then I took off in Yumiko's car looking for a parking spot. Finally, I found a lot, the third lot I checked. And they had an online parking situation. So I had to download the app and set up the credit card and everything. Meanwhile, the car is running. Got it all set up. And it was $25 for... I had 5 hours and 32 minutes for some reason. It was this weird number for the time that I bought for the $25. I maxed it out. That was as high as I could go. Maybe come to think of it, maybe after that time. Oh, I bet I know why it was 5 hours, because after that time, the parking is free probably. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Anyway, so then I parked Yumiko's car, and then I had to, practically when it was really hot, I had to hike all the way back through the campus to Emily's car, which thankfully had not been stolen. Now I've got Emily's car sitting there running running out of gas, and I've got 5 hours, and now I've got about 5 hours and 20 minutes to solve the problem. You see my problem. I have to get a new battery in the car. Now, there's cheaper ways to do it. No, the cheapest way would be to have AAA when they came to do this. But AAA doesn't carry batteries for the Prius C, my daughter's version of the Prius, for some interesting reason. And I had been warned. I read that online as well, that they probably won't carry it, and they didn't. So then that was off, but they had started the car. I had one option was I could go to Costco Automotive, and get a cheaper battery there. But long lines, they might not, and remember the clock's running. So I decided I'm just going to call up the dealership, which probably has the battery, the Toyota dealership, and I can probably get in there. I just called them up and I said, do you have the battery for the Prius C? And can you change the battery this afternoon? The answer was yes to both accounts. So I said, if I can get there, and they said, they told me, if you can get here in an hour, we'll get you in. And you're on. I didn't even ask the price. I knew it would be a lot. In fact, the number in my mind was, I said, I'm not going to get out of this for less than $500. So I hopped in Emily's car. Now, I was irrational, and I thought, well, I'm going to want the battery charged. It was a hot day, and I said, I'm not going to run the air conditioner. So I had all 4 windows down, and I was blaring 70s album rock as I was racing through the LA freeways to Tustin, from Fullerton to Tustin, not far. I made it well in time. Got to the dealership. They put a sign on the car saying, do not stop, so that none of the technicians would stop the car. Went inside. I made friends. I have been to that dealership. I take the car to the dealership for its regular service, for oil change and tire rotation. Toyota has actually a good package. You can buy a package of 5 rotations and things. It's like for $150. It's a bargain. And so I know that place. I go there regularly for that. In fact, that same dealership. So the one guy is one of the guys that I've known, because I take 2. I have 2 Toyotas. I bought a Prius for both my gals, so I go there all the time. Fortunately, I don't ever have to do any major services. The cars just run and run. So anyway, and I knew the guy, and I was angling for a free sandwich for my $500. So I was like, he's like, you gonna wait? Are you gonna wait here, or are you gonna go home? So I'll wait here. I'm gonna sit over there and eat a sandwich, because they've got a Subway in there. And he didn't take the hint. And then he says, and then later he said, so you'll be here? And he says, yeah, I'll be sitting right over there eating a sandwich. And then he finally looks at me. He says, would you like a sandwich coupon? Because they give out free coupons for a meal. I said, oh, that would be wonderful. So he had to rummage around, and he got me one. So I got a free lunch out of it. So then I went over, and I sat, and I got my sandwich, and I brought my my Discourses by Epictetus, and I read my book, and I had a great time reading my book and eating my sandwich. It's really fun time. In fact, I kind of had a breakthrough moment. I could say it happened there. I think I've mentioned in my last videos, the last couple of lessons last week, there's been kind of an event happening in my mind. You know, the good life includes the concept of the homunculus, the idea of the little mortal living inside our heads, and the concept of the anchor hold. The anchor hold being a rock sticking out of the sea where the homunculus resides. Those 2 things have kind of coming together in my brain as I feel myself kind of snugly, I like to use the word buttoning my consciousness down, and applying apathy to the areas of the world outside of my control. Not disengaging, and it's not that I don't care. It's that I'm simply disengaged from them. It's like watching events in historical footage on film, on TV. It's interesting, but it's distant, remote, and outside of us. That's how I'm increasingly being able to see the world in the immediate moment, including the circumstances that are happening to me. And it's largely due to rereading Epictetus' Discourses, where Epictetus, time after time, asks us to consider, are even things such as he talks about the king that threatens to shackle him. And, you threaten to shackle me. That means you'll just put my legs in chains. Is that all you mean? You're not reaching me. He's talking about reaching me being the internal man, the man that controls the will and the reasoning sense, and the sense of virtue, the sense of behaving and thinking in a correct manner, where correctness is in accordance with our values. the king, the tyrant can't reach that. He can shackle his feet. And the tyrant says, no, no, I shall take your head. And then Epictetus says, oh, is that all you mean, my head? And then he goes to Socrates, references Socrates, who would say that, the Athenian court can kill me, but they cannot hurt me. Profound and powerful comments, deep and striking me, even though I've been, subjecting myself to these ideas all my life, as I've enjoyed philosophy, and particularly the Stoic thinkers. It's somehow, I think, largely due to my own efforts of developing the Good Life Creed, sinking in a way that's quite profound. It's like practicing a golf swing over and over, even though I don't golf. Practicing a golf swing until it kind of becomes second nature, or shooting hoops until you can kind of start shooting hoops, and it's like just like sort of whooshing through the net more often than not. Recognizing the limits of my control, and using apathy to disconnect from those things is more and more the case. I mean, a perfect example of that. I had an amazing drive home. After all, so just to finish the story, I then drove home back. I was able to, the car was finished, and and like I said, and I didn't tell the guy because I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to say to the guy, I know this is going to cost me $500. I said, because he said, oh, okay, we'll charge him $500. But in my mind, I was thinking, this is going to cost me $500. It's $500.28 was for this new battery. Just add it to the pile. I'm really not worried about it because I can't go to Japan until I get everything all paid for. Emily's college all paid off, all my debt. I mean, I had all my debt paid off, but now it's piling up again. And then I get to go. Then I'm free, and then I get to go back to Japan. Emily's got to get through college and then get settled in her own life, and then I'll pay off all the debt. And then once Emily's all settled in her own life, Yumiko's going to leave and go back to Japan as soon as Emily's done with college. She'll buy our house over there and get us all set up, and then I'm free as soon as we're debt free. Anyway, so then I got the car. I went back. I got to the college. The Waze app is great. You can send someone your ETA. So I sent Emily my ETA, and she was waiting for me in the parking lot. And she said, Dad, would you like to see the school library? She knows, of course, that I like books. She knows that I like old books. And they've got an old books section in an old bookstore where books are cheap. And so she took me there. The bookstore was closed, but she took me up and she set me free in the stacks. And she had a bonfire to attend in Huntington Beach with some new friends. Good for her. Warmed my heart. I'm so glad she's doing that. She's doing so well in this stuff. I don't know, what is it? It's the stuff you go to university. For me, the stuff you go to university for, in spite of the education. It's the community, the socialization, the friends, the expanded horizons, etc. She's getting all of that in spades, and it's only been a month. Meeting new people, etc. Anyway, so she set me free. Now, I was a little self-conscious not being a student, so I actually went over and found a clerk or a librarian, and I asked them, is it okay for me to be here? I'm not a student. They said, yeah, no problem. So off I went. Found 5 shelves groaning with the works of Samuel Johnson. Made me happy to see. So anyway, after that, I got in the car and I took off. I had like 30 minutes to spare on my 5.5 hour timer. So mission accomplished. Anyway, I was going to finish with a little bit that as I was driving home, of course it's rush hour traffic, 2 hours home. It would normally been an hour drive. There was I was making a left turn on this one place, and there was this man that had totally violated. I don't know where he came from. He just totally, long line to make a left turn. He just came out of nowhere and came up and got right beside me. Now he wanted to squeeze in. He was cutting in, right? I would have let him cut in. Again, like I said, I'm buttoned in to my cockpit, my element of apathy in place. I can't control that man's actions. I'm disconnected from that. I mean, if he was trying to hurt somebody and I could do something about it, I would do something about it. But all he's trying to do is cut in the line. It's just that he wasn't close enough to cut in. Otherwise, I would have stopped and let him in. But I guess he thought I could have let him in. So I moved forward, and he got in behind me, and I looked at the rearview mirror, and he's there flipping me off in the back, and he come around the side, and he glared at me, and then raced ahead, and then he went and cut around all these other cars, and then he's just a bull in a china shop. Anyway, the point is, the point is I'm making is, it's not that I didn't care. I was disconnected. That sense of apathy, that stoic apathy. It was like watching it all happen in a film. The careful thing to do with Stoicism is it's not that we become disconnected from the world or we don't care. It's just we recognize the things that are outside of our control and are disconnected from those things. We can take actions to protect ourselves from them, and we can be hurt by them, like these, the tyrant that would threaten to cut off my head. They can indeed cut off my head, but I recognize all at the same time that even though they're in the process of sawing off my head, they're not reaching what would it be? The deep I can't think of the word. The place, the fortified location where my reasoning faculty resides, even though my reasoning faculty is winking out as I die. My integrity was there till the end. That's the key element. It's a very stoic way of thinking. And the point is, remember I said before that something's happened where I'm starting, and this has been going on for about a couple of weeks, it's been building. I'm starting to see that, and you'll only understand this if you've read my book, Going Alone. I'm starting to realize that Mount Wildness, which in the book I describe as a place that I'll never actually reach, is the anchor hold. It's that place where the reasoning faculty resides in its independent and alone sense, on a rock in a sea, surrounded by waves, splashed by the sea, the sun, and the grave sense of mortality. I'm working on fleshing it out. Of course, this is all poetic license, just all around the thing. But it's starting to congeal, because I like to take these Stoic ideas and build them into the character, the landscape, the story that I've made in the story of Going Alone. And this is congealing into that. But what's the key element is the very real fact that this is becoming part and parcel of who I am as a Stoic man, or a Stoic student, better put. And I enjoyed that sense all the way home, just like the little piggy. So then I got home, I had a great meal with my wife, and then I went to bed. I was real tired. But the really amazing thing is I can say that yesterday was a very successful day as a Stoic, especially, and as a person utilizing and applying the Good Life Creed. I mean, I was on my game like never before, even though I was strongly challenged to worry, fret, be upset. There were, 2 decades ago, yesterday would have been fraught with stress and worry and upset. And I moved through that day at peace, pleasurably, engagingly, a very social man, making friends, enjoying moments, reflecting, working on my philosophy, all the while attending to difficulty. A very Stoic day. Let's begin the Good Life Creed. My 7 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. To have my life affairs, my finances, my relationships, and my life's work in order. Should my heart stop now, as it could likely do, and it seems to be what happens, to a lot of the men in my family. I've already outlived a lot of them. And having left a good life in my wake. Yeah. And I think I've done that. And it's constant, it requires constant maintenance. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my time, but to be awake and attuned to the moments that are passing, and to be utilizing them in ways that are productive. It's like Johnson. I think it was Johnson who had described it. If you could take it wasn't Johnson who had described it. If you could take an entire mass of a man's life or a woman's life, and you could squeeze it, like if you take a star, right? If you take a star, the mass of a star, and squeezed it down, took out all the empty space between the atoms, squeezed it down, you'd have a very small item, just the protons, neutrons, and electrons without any empty space. Likewise, if you took all the years of a man or a woman's life and squeezed that down to the moments of worthwhile virtue, you'd have very few hours or minutes, maybe. Begs the question of what constitutes what's worthwhile virtue. I think I can answer that. Efforts and endeavors striving towards the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. So I want to have as much of that as possible. I want to have a virtue-dense life. That's what this second objective is all about. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's exactly these 7 objectives and 32 principles that I'm working on right now. And I do that by thinking about them every day, namely through this good life meditation, and also throughout the day as I work on my, as I actually exercise with these tools throughout the day, throughout the challenges of the day. That was another thing that was happening yesterday. As these challenges were unfolding and things were getting more challenging, especially as 11 o'clock came. I had Emily's car running in a parking lot halfway across campus, and Yumiko's car was parked with a timer saying 5 hours. I got 5 hours. I felt like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Done. I've got 5. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, you've got 5 hours and 32 minutes to get a new battery in Emily's car. And I thought, I can do this. And it wasn't a matter of I can do this and it's all going to work out. It was like, I can do this. It's gonna be hard and it may fail, but I can do this. Apathy was being applied to the right places at the right moments. That's that's again the application of that good life of the creed, throughout the day. Next is the cultivation of good emotion. That's the next objective. The cultivation of good emotional reactions, to react well throughout the day to the challenges that come. And again, yesterday was a model of that. One of the best ever. I love being at work because work does that as well. Work is a venue for the opportunity for good emotional reactions. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day to make the world a better place. Again, with that aim of improving virtue and well-being. Where'd the little dog go? Next is, I better go. I'm taking a lot of time this morning. Wow, I'm way behind. I'm already half an hour behind schedule. Not that I really have a schedule, but I spent a lot of time on the other video that I made, the Dr. Johnson reading. So let's speed it up a little bit, Kurt. The next is the what is the next one? Recognition of true limits and true opportunity, to see what is and what is not within my control, to know where to apply my apathy. And then finally to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, to never ever multitask, although I'm going a little fast right now. Now my 32 principles. The first of these is war, to always be fighting against propositions of truth, especially stuff that I've already identified or thought is true. I want to give those another shot. It's new ideas that come to me that are proposed to me as true, and anything that I'm tempted to take at face value, anything of consequence, right? I'm not going to challenge your claim that you've got $20 in your pocket. but I will challenge your claim that you've got a guardian angel. If you, well, I will only challenge you if you want me to believe that, and I have a guardian angel. I don't care a damn if you think you've got a. Well, I do give a damn if you think you've got a guardian angel, because you're probably going to influence society with these ideas. But I'm not going to challenge you necessarily unless you propose it to me. Go see what's up. One of the dogs is making noise. Rudy. All right. So, perfect example. So, just like yesterday, the car, perfect little perfect storm. So, here's what happened just now. Sorry to keep you waiting so long. Um, Last night, I was going to pick up dog food for the dogs because we were getting low, but I didn't have a chance because I was taking care of Emily's stuff, and I forgot coming home. Even though I did stop at the store to get a cheap bottle of wine for Yumiko, and uh, so because I got home so late, Yumiko made homemade dog food. She's really good at doing that. She cooks rice, and then she cooks chicken, and she makes squash, and she mixes it all up and makes a really nice dog food. It's really good. But it seems that it didn't sit well with little Rudy, the white dog's stomach. So good news, he was downstairs at the back door making sounds. That's what I heard, because he needed to get outside to take a dump, which is really good because normally he would just do it on the floor, on the hardwood floor downstairs. Normally we have a routine. He's usually pretty good. Like I said, I'm running a little bit late, so maybe that's part of it. But normally he would be okay right now. Normally I would be reading my Bible right now. So he would, so I heard that noise. So it's a good thing I went downstairs. So I opened the door back to the yard outside. And he went outside and he was doing his business. And while he was doing his business, I was thinking to myself, oh no, the sprinkler's going to go off any second. And sure enough, it did. Well, he was at the far end of the yard. And now he's trapped out there in the process of taking a dump with water spraying all over the place. He finally finished, and he's getting all wet. And I'm thinking, is he going to come through the water? No, he's not going to come through the water. So I had to come back, go into the garage, get my flip flops, go out there, and I tried to stop the water so he would come through, but he wouldn't. He was scared, so I just let the water go, and I traipsed. I'm all wet, so I traipsed through the water and picked him up, and there he is now. He's in his little bed. You better now. He's all wet dog, so he's all okay. But see, that's that's a good example of one of the principles that I'm going to talk about in just a second, which is the principle of life will not go well. Things will happen, just like that, just like happened with Emily's car the other day. Things will happen in my projects at work, and then some things are so horrible that they are at a horror show level. That's another principle called the horror show. I'll talk about that in a second too. There's real Ollie too. Hi Ollie. So, where was I? I talked about war. Then I talked about reason. And oh yeah, that's where I was. Second principle. The reason has three sub-principles. Honesty, objectivity, honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Honesty because I want to be an honest man. Objectivity because I want to look at things in from many sides, and to know where their square sides are and where the rounded sides are, so to speak. Honesty, objectivity, skepticism. I want to be doubtful. I want to come at things from from an eye of criticism and doubt. And then finally, humiliation. I want to welcome being the discovery that I'm wrong, and to realize that humiliation is a mark, perhaps, of recognized folly. 3, the homunculus. I talked about that already a little bit. It's the little man that lives inside me. Not really. It's just a word that I use to describe my consciousness that is quite alone. I can't actually be with any other human being or any other creature any closer than touch and emotion, which isn't close, which isn't any connection really. I mean, it's more of a symbiotic harmony of thought. But it's important to remember that consciousness is 1, alone, and 2, quite mortal. Will wink out, go to oblivion when I'm dead. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in an afterlife. I don't think I have a soul. I don't think any of us does. And there's no heaven or hell. There's just what we've got right now. And the consequence of the hard work that we make in developing good and sound life principles and executing those over the course of our life is all the result, all the reward we get. And not doing that is all the punishment that we ever get. The next next principle, number 4, I think that is the anchor hold. The idea that each of our consciousness, not only are they alone, but they're alone in a precarious state. Winds and seas, it's like a rock sticking out of the ocean, and we're standing on that rock, and the swell comes, and the wind and the waves, and etc. And each of us is on our own little rock. And I'm beginning to realize that that rock is the top of Mount Wildness deep in the sea. It's good for a drawing. Next is the principle of purpose. We all have, or at least in my worldview, we have 3 purpose. One is the purpose of being, if we choose to become a parent, and I highly recommend it, at least one kid. But don't start a family until you're mid-30s. There's other things to do first. One is the purpose of being a parent. 2 is, and then consequent with that is the effort of being a good husband, being a good husband or wife to support and raise that child. 2, and do get married. There's something to the commitment of being married that because it's going to be tough, tough going. And when you've got the extra commitment of a ring that won't come off, you're kind of more likely to get through the tough bits than if you don't have that binding. You'll be grateful if you don't. I mean, there are reasons to give it up. I mean, if someone's addicted or abusive or stuff like that, you can't stay in a situation like that. But if you've got something you're growing into, you realize you're different. You can probably work your way through that as long as they're someone of good value. So that's the most important thing. Find someone you can align your values with. Anyway, so purpose, husband or father, be a parent, be a virtuous human being, working to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, and then have some personal objective in life. Why not have something fun you want to do, a hobby or something like that? So you want to promote. Mine is the writing and the sharing of the Good Life Creed via my book, Going Alone, available on Amazon and or through my website, goingalone.org, where you'll get a signed copy if you buy it there. Next is atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, falling to pieces. And then the pirate ride, there is no free will. Free will is a very convincing illusion. It feels like we're responsible for the choices we're making, but in fact, the universe has so much to say about our choices that we are largely just decision engines facilitating what appears to be the choices that we're making. I can't prove that. I hold that on faith. Hallelujah. It's more like Heil Hitler. Next is maturity and the sub-principles of honesty. No, maturity and sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Yes, I'm starting to remember. I've mixed things up a little bit. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and have the fortitude to do better and the integrity of sticking by our principles. Next comes the social principle. We're social creatures. We need each other. It's good to endeavor to be with one another. And there are several sub-principles here. I think they are diplomacy. We have to be diplomatic in working with others. Justice is another one, seeking after justice. I think there's 2 more. Conspiracy, 1 more. Conspiracy is what we do when we work with others to conspire towards good ends. When we work our diplomatic skills to reach agreement with others and then lock arms and conspire to succeed, conspire to be virtuous, conspire to make the world a better place. Next is public speaking, and there are, I think, 4 sub-principles here. Public speaking is small words, rumor, gossip, and there's 1 more. I just had it open. What is it? See, they're all listed. All the objectives and principles are listed in the book here. Small words, rumor, prudence. I'll remember that in the future. So let's say small words. Use appropriate words for every situation. It doesn't mean that they have to be necessarily small, but usually the more readily understood, the better. Prudence. Utilizing our communicating in such a way that our communications, whether they're spoken or written, are in accord with our values. They're pointing at and leading towards and suggesting names that are in accordance with what's important to us. Rumor. I don't trade in rumor because rumor leads to gossip. And rumor, it doesn't mean, I mean, if I knew a flash flood was coming down the mountain, I would be, and it was going to be here in 10 minutes, I would be telling the fellow villagers about it. That's not rumor. If I, what's a good example? I can't think of a good example. If it was just happenstance, something like talking of, it's failing me. Okay, go back to the one I did yesterday. There's a rumor going around work right now. Right now we all work from home. Most of us do. Big organization sent everybody home during the pandemic. The rumor is that they're taking us back. Looks like that's not happening, yet people are trading in that rumor and it's causing upset in the organization. That's the type of thing I will avoid. Unfounded, sharing news and forecasts that are unfounded. Yeah. And then finally, gossip, talking about others behind their back in such a way that if I suddenly discovered they were overhearing what I said about them, I'd be embarrassed. I'm not going to do that. I don't trade in gossip. That's a great grave sin. In fact, the Dr. Johnson essay that I just read this morning before making this video talked about that very same thing. It was Rambler number 12. Let's see if I can get by without the book. After public speaking, the social principle of public speaking, and then comes distraction. We distract ourselves all of our lives through all kinds of stuff, work and play and hobbies and church and God and friends and family and sex and TV shows and movies and everything. What are we distracting ourselves from? Well, we're keeping ourselves busy is one thing, but we're also distracting ourselves from the apparent fact that we are alone. There seems to be no life outside of our planet that we've yet discovered, and there certainly appears to be no evidence of any God or deity looking after us. We don't want to see that. We don't want to know that. At least most of us don't. So we cover our ears and say, la, 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 sports and gossip and politics and God. And then we spend our life doing that, and then we die. I would rather face down the fact that it seems like we're alone. And that wasn't the next one, actually. I got ahead of myself. The next is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 principles in a row. These are, I can do it without the book, temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, and the feast of Offal. Let's talk about each of those. Temperance is our ability to control our consumption, eating less, speaking less, drinking less, working not necessarily less, but within reasonable amounts of everything, so that we are consuming life in reasonable bite-sized bits. Next is life will not go well. Life's going to have speed bumps. I talked about this a little bit already. I talked about how yesterday, the car breaking down, the battery going dead, what just happened now with the dog. These are all the examples of life will not go well. For the most part, incidental, mundane things. But if we're not well trained, and if we don't temper our life with good Stoic principles, they can upset us unduly. We can fail to apply apathy as in due proportion. The next principle is the horror show. Sometimes this stuff really goes bad, and I'm so tempted when I get to this principle, I want to use vulgarity because it pisses me off. It upsets me that things can go so bad, and I usually pull something out of the air to think about, like, okay, today my wife's car could break down. That's an example. It's tough to get it from the life will not go well to the horror show level without saying fuck. Okay, like the car could break down. That's fine enough. I could run over a child in the street, squish a car with the wheels, squish a kid with the wheels. Fuck you, Kurt. I mean, I hate this stuff. I mean, it's something that could happen, right? I mean, a kid could dart out in front of me in the car on a little bicycle or something like that, and I could run them over. These things do happen. My daughter could be killed. She could have an accident. Someone could break into the dorm and murder her. I hate doing this. You see what I'm doing, right? I'm salting the the I'm salting the well with poisons. But these are poisons that are real. These are poisons that are happening. A child will be run over today by someone here, not even, I don't even have to say the world, probably in this city, the greater Los Angeles area of millions of people. Probably a child will be run over and killed. Certainly in the world, it's going to happen multiple times today. Certainly some woman, young daughter, someone's daughter is going to be murdered today. So it's not that these are unreasonable things. Why not me? By preparing myself for the worst case scenario, it doesn't mean that I live in anticipation of that, but I'm seeing what is within and what is without my control. I can be the best driver I can be. I can try my best. My daughter can lock the door. She can try her best. Yet, these things do happen. Okay, I think I've made my point well enough. It's hard enough to do. And it certainly already evoked me to say nasty words twice. Enough of that. The next is that which must be borne, the next principle. And what I have to bear is the fact that life will not go well, and I have to bear the weight of the horror show. The next is the feast of woeful. It's what happens when we get upset and we start saying bad words, especially when we start spewing them out in a rage and tyrannical, diatribe. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that for a long time. It's been years since I've even come close to doing it. I used to do it all the time in my 30s. Get all upset. And I wasn't brutal. I wasn't violent to anybody. I would just verbally, I would be like self-flagellation, whipping myself with a whip in public. Gosh, damn it, why does this always happen to me? Damn it, I'm so upset. And my wife would watch me doing this, and she would all be uncomfortable. And a few times Emily saw that before I really got wise and stopped that when she was young. But I think she remembers that. Got that damn thing under control. It doesn't do anybody any good. It just soils everybody. There's better ways to handle such upset, namely by getting our act in gear and developing good Stoic resolve and self-control and the discipline to hold our upset inside, or better yet, to cordon off our inner man or inner woman onto Mount Wildness, onto the tip of the anchor hold, to be the homunculus, letting the car swerve around me, flipping me off as they go by, yet letting that's his feast of woeful, that man's feast of woeful, yet realizing, as Socrates says, that you can kill me, but you cannot hurt me. Now I get to the principle of distraction. I talked about that. There's another one that goes with that, which is agency and the great indifference, which is agency is us, right, life. And the great indifference is everything else, all the emptiness of the universe, namely the universe without God. We distract ourselves because we don't want to see that. But I recommend going to a place like this, like the deep, deep desert, the Bristol Mountains of the Mojave Desert, to witness the great indifference for ourselves. But be careful out there. This desert will kill you first chance it gets. Not that it's trying, but it'll kill you. Next comes the best seat in the house. Do not want to be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. Then here comes another few that go together. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure. Yeah, is the season of philosophy after that one? No, yeah, that's it. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure. These are a trifecta. The restless man is the thing that the antsiness that we feel at a young age, want to have some adventure, to do something. A lot of young people do this, especially men, and I think it comes from our early, hunter-gatherer instincts. If we don't do that, if you want that, if you feel that longing and you don't do it, watch out, because it'll come back and haunt you later the rest of your life. If you do it, then you're stepping onto what I call the path of wildness, which is an off-ramp from one life, so to speak, into another life, a chapter of life. The path of wildness leads to what I call then the next principle, the great life adventure. And you can have a big great life adventure, you can have several, or you can have a whole bunch of little ones, or you can have a big one or a couple of big ones and a whole bunch of little ones, however many you want to fit in. My recommendation is that if you are a restless man or a restless woman, in your early 20s, definitely go to college. College is key. It's vital to go to college. Go to college. And then after you finish college, get your bachelor's degree. Go for your bachelor's degree. Go all the way. Once you get your bachelor's degree at around age 22 to 25, Go for the 25. Take a few extra years. Spend extra time in the library. Take classes that aren't on the list. Spend the extra time. Milk that experience for all you can. Then give yourself from 25 to 30 to have a great life adventure. Get on the path of wildness, whatever the hell it is, right? And go have a great life adventure. And then come back after that. Then you can set up the rest. You will then be addressing the restless man. You will be you'll be getting on the path of wildness. You'll give yourself a great life adventure. And that is something that no one can ever take away from you until life takes it away from you when you die, or Alzheimer's takes it away from you when you can't remember, whatever the case may be. You'll be glad you did. Because when you get old, you can't assuage that loss anymore. And you're going to be stuck with the fact that you became old, you waited too long, you lost your youth, you lost your vitality, you lost your stupidity. You became too wise and smart and too settled in your ways and too old and creaking and full of aches and pains. And the best adventure you can maybe come up with is a motorhome cruise around the United States, or a cruise on a ship. I mean, maybe you'll be one of those that'll try to do something otherwise, but it's different. I mean, you're not going to be 26 years old and fancy free with your whole life ahead of you, able to withstand mistakes. You can't make major mistakes like that when you're 65 years old. It's not the same. And your inner man or woman will know that. The next one is called the risk of avoiding risk. There's 2 layers of risks in life. The surface level risks are education, career, home and family, home, family, and saving for your old age, retirement. It's easy to do those. Everyone's going to encourage you to do them. I mean, they're hard, but you can do them. The whole institutions are set up for that. The tricky one is the deep risk of finding oneself, so to speak, as the hippies would say, right? Getting out there and searching for America, whatever cliche term you want to use, to step upon the path of wildness, to get out there, to have your great adventure, to assuage that inner desire, and then come back and spend the rest of your life with this subtle smile that extends all the way up from the corners of your lips, all the way up into your eyes. You can tell someone smiles deep from within because they smile with their eyes. You'll have that if you gave yourself the great life adventure. Even if you failed at it, even if it broke you, even if you lose all your money, even if you are taken and shammed, you know what? Even if you die, it's worth the risk. But don't be stupid. Don't die a foolish death necessarily, although who gives a shit? In fact, you're just going to oblivion. Did I really want to go there? Yeah. I've been lately thinking more and more about the concept, the Stoic concepts of death and suicide, in fact, which are difficult topics to discuss because they are so plain and common sense. I'm uncomfortable with them at this point. Maybe give myself a few more years. It's not that I'm uncomfortable with death, although I am. I'm uncomfortable with the Stoic perception of suicide because Stoics view it as an out. You know, the way that Epictetus, or maybe it was Socrates, who would say, if the house becomes so smoky, then you can just leave the house. There's a lot in that. And also because I don't want to be responsible for anybody leaving the damn house. It's more weight than I can handle in my life. Next one is sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview: falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, superstition, and gossip. Basically, it boils down to believing things that are untrue, or being untrue, or gossiping about others. The consequence is sin. Sin in the here and now. Sin because you're living a damned life, being untrue, or being a gossip, or believing things that are untrue. Next comes complete oblivion. When you're dead, I don't think there's anything to follow. I can't prove that, but there's no reason at all to think of otherwise. Every evidence shows that we just our bodily constitute, our electricity switches off, the lights inside go dim, go out, and then the constituent frame on which it all has existed decomposes away, or if someone wants, they can have it burned up, and that's the end of us. We will have no final reunion. We won't see our loved ones again. We won't have any final reunion with them. We won't have final reconciliation because we can't see them again. We won't be able to make up where things were bad, and we won't see any final justice because there's no afterlife and no justice giver. So attend to all those things in the here and now. That's important. Why it's so important to make good and effective use of time. Then comes the season of philosophy. There reaches a point in life, especially if we lived well. Well being defined a life of in the pursuit of virtue, where virtue is defined as the improvement, seeking after the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. If we've lived such a life, and we've had adventures, and we've done the things, we've been diverse. You're going to want to say something, probably. Keep a pen and a paper handy, or a tape recorder, or a video camera ready to go to type or tweet or post a video about whatever thoughts you have. That's the season of philosophy. But watch out. When the muse speaks, get down what the muse has to say, because the muse goes away. It tends to. It's rife. Literature is rife with references to such fact. Then comes the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark but usually missing. Happens to me all the time at work. I try to do something and it doesn't come out quite right. That's just the way it is. Life will not go well, right? And then the uphill climb, making sure that every day is an uphill climb, moving upward, climbing, not digging myself into the side of the mountain, but turning about at the end of each day and discovering that I've ascended higher than I was yesterday. And then arena and utility. Life is an arena for the development of our objectives and principles, which we use, or development of our principles, which we use towards the fulfillment of our objectives. Then two more. Nothing is enough. Suggestion that we can get by without being connected to things. We can get by with the inner sanctuary of Mount Wildness. Standing atop the anchor hold, a mountain in the sea. I like that image. A mountain in the sea. And lastly, the principle of fun. Let's have a fun day. Let's have a fun time thinking about tomorrow. And let's enjoy the remembrance of the happy days of the past. Can you hear the dog snoring? Okay, let's prepare for the day. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this, start this upload. We'll have to tidy up the upload I just did. Dr. Johnson should be fully uploaded. It's been an hour I've been at this. Upload this, then I'm going to get over here. I'll read my Bible. Still in Ezekiel. Then I'll feed the dogs, walk the dogs. But then maybe my wife will be getting up, and then we're going to do our thing, and we're going to go out and look at some apartments today. Do some apartment shopping, and maybe decide whether we're going to move or not, or stay here. The day will be rife with challenges. There will be problems. Yet I will remain up top Mount Wildness, a little mount peeking out of the sea. Someday I'll fall in. I wonder if it'll be today. It could be. I could go down painfully. My wife might fall in today. Emily might fall in today. The snoring dog by my side, he might go too. I'm ready, as ready as I can be. I have my stoic resolve. I have my principles. I have my objectives. I have lived a well-lived life in pursuit of those things. I am ready to go. I don't want to go, but I'm ready to go. I'm going to push just a little further. Could I be ready to go of my own volition? There, I did it. I said the quiet thing. I don't know. I don't know that I've got there yet. Not that I want to, not that I have any reason to, but I think a good Stoic should know when that is an option, and when, as Seneca would say, the wrist and the knife. What a way to end the video. Jeez Louise, I went there, didn't I? I feel like I should be now spend 20 minutes disclaimer on suicide. I'm not endorsing suicide. I'll just give it one or two sentences. I'm not endorsing suicide. I'm simply identifying the Stoic perspective on it. Because when we remember that that's a way, that's an option, it keeps us strong in the here and now, in the facing down the difficult life and the horror show, knowing that the very worst that comes is oblivion, which is coming nonetheless. And if you are thinking about suicide, then please consider getting help. God damn, this is hard. I've gone to the difficult place today. Friggin' A. I'm not proud of myself. I don't know that I'm ready to trespass in this area. Maybe nobody made it to this point, though. Maybe no one's seen me on my more difficult side, the far side of Stoicism. That's it. Be safe, but not too safe.